Really glad everyone's here. All right, awesome. Yeah, so we're gonna have some interactive slides today. Jay here is holding down all of our technical stuff today, which is really great.
It's going super
And
well so far.
we're getting there, one step at a time. But yeah, so if you go on to that second slide, there's an interactive little scale that you can put a little heart in that's in the corner on of where you're at today. We really like to do this so we can just kind of see how everyone's doing and what folks are bringing into the room today. And then we also have these little sticky notes. So if you want to like write a little note, you can do that as well. So just take a couple minutes for that. And then we also, definitely do this based on your comfort level, but we definitely invite folks to turn your cameras on. We would love to see all the folks that are here today. Definitely like opens up the room. It's not a requirement, but yeah, we like to see y'all's faces.
Do you like copy and paste the heart or?
You can just
Yeah,
drag. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can just drag and drop. I tried to make as much as I could.
Gotcha.
Oh no. If you need to hop out and hop back in to try to connect it, I will let you back in. That's not the best troubleshooting I've ever done though.
Sometimes it's that simple, I feel like, on Zoom.
That's what I had to do. Use a sticky note. Oh, I should have changed the text size. Note to future self. Should we do like intros? I'm just thinking of this.
Yeah.
I'm just giving folks some time to finish inputting how their day has been. So next we are going to give our names, pronouns, where we're at, and what we would like to get out of this training. I'm happy to start, and if y'all are willing, feel free to chime in after or drop something in the chat. Hi, I'm Vic. I'm one of the CASEX staff. My pronouns are they, he. I'm currently located in Louisville, and I'm just excited to be here with y'all. I'm so excited to be a part of this training and have everybody in this space together.
Yeah, I can go first if that helps. Oh, I'm Jay, and I'm not gonna be sharing my face because that would just make me anxious in it. But some of y'all have met me in person. My pronouns are they, them. Was there another prompt I'm forgetting? You just said it.
Where you're from and what you want to get out of the training.
Yes. I am from Louisville and my hometown is Bowling Green, so I'm between the two often. And I'm just excited to like hear from folks, and I feel like no matter how many times I do like these trainings, I always get like learn more, and that's just because we like build the knowledge and it never stops. So I'm just excited to get to know y'all.
Would anybody else like to introduce themselves? No pressure.
I can go next. My name is Lauren. I'm living in Lexington right now. My pronouns are she, they. I grew up in like Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. And today I'm just kind of hoping to learn a little bit about how to be better, like about being in community with people. Yeah.
We've got Brad in the chat. Brad uses he, they pronouns and is from Ashland, but lives in Lexington. We're so excited to have you here, and we're stoked that you are psyched.
Yeah, I can also go. So I'm Kat. I use they, them pronouns. I'm also one of the K6 staff, and I'm really stoked to be getting to help facilitate this today. Similar to what Jay said, I feel like, I've given this training a couple times now, and I feel like there's always something new I learn, which is really exciting. I'm in Lexington, from Lexington, grew out kind of on the outskirts of it, but living in the city now. And yeah, just really stoked to see you all today and be in this conversation. Lauren, I really love what you said of how we can like continue to learn how to be in better community with each other. So very excited about that.
I can go next. My name's Claude. I use they, he pronouns. I'm from Bowling Green, but I live in Lexington. And it's been a while since I've gotten to be in an anti-oppression training. So I'm just, trying to see what's new. And it's always different every time when there's a different variety of people in a training. So it's nice just to be here with everybody.
We've also got Shelly in the chat. Shelly uses she, her pronouns and is currently living in Versailles, Kentucky, and is looking forward to learning today. Thank you so much for being here.
I can go. I don't cut anybody off though, if you want to go first. I'm Emily. I use she or they pronouns, and you all are the best part of my sick day so far, for sure. I love our trainings a lot and hope to get something that is a really refreshing kind of look at getting back into anti-oppressive frameworks and action today, because I think it's something we all have to revisit, even if we've had it before and need to always be pushing to do better.
Thank you for sharing, and I hope you feel better soon. I'm so sorry you're sick, but we're glad to have you in our space with us. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Did we miss anybody? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding, you can use the chat box. But moving on to our objectives for today. Today's objectives are to explore the roles that power and privilege play in group dynamics and understand small ways we can address privilege in our own lives, as well as big ways in our organizations, big ways our organizations can address it in our work. Next, we will be having a little breakout.
I think we were going to do intros and stuff as breakouts and then share back. So if you have another prompt, or we can just go into the temperature, or the, not temperature check, that was the other one. This one.
Yeah, we can move forward.
Okay. I think it worked out doing it as a group anyways. warming us all up to the space.
And have any of you ever interacted with anti-oppression concepts? How much? This is also an interactive slide, and feel free to place one of the hearts or sticky notes somewhere along the line. The 3 points we have listed are: I have never interacted with these concepts, I've read about it or have gone to a training, or I have facilitated a training. And you can also feel free to drop this in the chat as well. I personally have a little bit of a hard time trying to move the hearts and sticky notes around. So yeah.
That's great, whoever's sharing about surge meetings. I used to go to some of those in Lexington, and I feel like they're always doing really good work.
I'm so sorry at the hearts I'm dragging that are becoming bigger, smaller, upside down. Forgive me.
You are forgiven. Make
Also,
the hearts as
upside
big
down
as you want.
heart. Yeah, upside down heart's totally a mood also. So
Also, if anyone wants to share about their experiences or what they're put in, we'd love to hear it.
ooh, it looks like we have like a good good amount of folks that are saying that they have had either some kind of interaction with anti-oppression concepts from trainings that they've been to or other meetings, maybe doing some reading, all the way up to facilitating trainings as well, which is really exciting. And I think will inform kind of our conversation today. So I'm gonna move us along into our shared norms and safer space. For folks who've never been to training where this is a part of the training, this is kind of a way just to create a shared and respectful space for our conversations today. And we do this in an interactive way so that you all also have agency over the space. And so you can also share like what's going to make you more comfortable in the space. You know, a couple common ones are, you know, just generally being respectful, active listening, so really trying to hear what folks are saying instead of just listening to respond. Things like that. Move up, move back is a common one. So if you are someone who maybe speaks a lot in meetings, just being aware of that so other folks have space to share. If you're someone who doesn't maybe speak up as much, we would love to hear your thoughts and definitely encourage you to move up and share what you're thinking, because everyone here has really good really valuable experiences and thoughts that really make this space what it is. So yeah, so we just want to give folks a little bit of time to, you can grab one of these sticky notes and type in some thoughts. Again, you can throw thoughts into the chat as well. And I'm just going to be reading these out as they populate. So it'll take a few minutes for that. And so far we have honesty, trust, and understanding. Hitting a plus in the chat for affirmation. So it's a really great nonverbal way of saying like, yes, I totally agree, or really love what you're saying. There's also a bunch of emojis you can throw in the chat if that's your style as well. assuming best intention when people are speaking. Yeah, that's a really great one. I think everyone here is definitely here to learn, it sounds like, and trying to be in better space with each other. And I have another one I'm going to share here in a second that'll speak to that. Speak to personal experience without generalization. Yep, that's a really great one.
I don't understand why these sticky notes have to be so difficult.
I also feel like everything's always more difficult once you're finally giving a training.
Yeah, like it all works fine and then.
Mhm. Giving people time to speak without interruption. That's a really great one. So really ensuring folks are finished speaking before we chime in. And that also does take me to, there is a raise hand option in the reactions button that you can click if you do have something that you want to share. And that's a really useful tool to use for that. Take care of yourself. Also a really good one. Gosh dang it. Yes. And that, you know, if you need to step away to use the bathroom, take some water. Also, sometimes these concepts can be a little bit activating. And so, you know, if you need to step away and just take a breather, take some time to yourself, feel free to do that. Yeah. Assuming best intentions. Yes, love that. Sounds like we have an affirmation for that in the chat from Mandy. Thanks for being here, Mandy. Yeah. I'll give it another minute to see if there's any other ones in here, and then we'll just hit the next slide here in a second. And there'll be a couple more that we always really want to make sure that we touch on for this training. Awesome. I feel like Mandy is doing a great job of taking care of yourself by moving to a quieter space. So glad you're doing that. Cool. Well, so what we can do really quick is move to the next slide. And these are just a couple other ones that we just want to go through. Y'all touched on a couple of these, and we just think they're really important for this training. So using I statements, speaking from your own experience, listening for understanding. So really trying to hear what the other person is saying. Using oops, ouch, right? So like we're all here for with probably great intentions. And also sometimes we can misspeak. So, you know, if you say something and it didn't land great, you can always say oops right afterwards, just to acknowledge that. Or if maybe someone says something that doesn't land right with you, or is hurtful in some way, you can always say ouch. And that is a great way of just letting the other person know that and giving them a chance to correct what they said. WAIT is an acronym for why am I talking? You know, this kind of goes into move up, move back as well. So just being aware of what you're saying and how that impacts the space, assuming best intention and also honoring impact. We will never move up, move back. It's okay to ask questions and not know how to word it, you know, like I think sometimes in learning spaces, at least for me, I can be like, I don't know how to like say this in a really eloquent way. So I'm just like not gonna ask it because it might sound stupid. But like you can say your question however you need to, and we will get to a point of understanding so that we can figure out what your question is about. And then again, yeah, taking care of yourself is really important to us. So definitely be sure to do that. Yeah, any questions before we move on to our next part of the training? Cool. Well, yeah, again, feel free to throw anything in the chat if you have anything come up. And I think Vic here is going to get us started with our definitions. We're going to start with definitions just so we can build out a shared understanding for what we're talking about today.
Alrighty, so we've got 3 photos, and each photo represents one of these 3 words: identity, prejudice, or discrimination. And we're gonna have y'all match the dot to the definition. So for whichever picture you think matches identity, drag the red dots to that photo anywhere around that photo. And the same for prejudice and discrimination. And we'll just take a few minutes to have fun with that. If you need to like put anything in the chat, feel free. If you would rather answer aloud, feel free to raise your hand. And yeah. Okay. Does everybody feel like they've gotten their answers where they need to, or is anybody having any trouble? All right, let's move into what each of these are. Jay, could you click to the next slide? Thank you. So first, we have identity. And identity is membership in a social group such as race, class, or gender.
Cool. And then I'm gonna do prejudice, and I want to see first if anyone has thoughts on prejudice before we share the definition. You can just either type it in the chat or shout out loud what you might think is the meaning of prejudice. I can have one brave volunteer. An attitude towards a group of people. Yeah, so a prejudice is really similar to that. It's a prejudgment about a personal group of people based on their real or perceived identity. And how many people have witnessed this happen before? If I can get a show of hands, you can use. So Emily's seen this happen. Mandy's seen this happen. Shelly's seen this happen. Yeah, I've also seen it happen before. I think it's really common, unfortunately. And where do we think we get prejudice from? Does anyone have thoughts on that?
I think as kids, we get it a lot from adult figures who harbor prejudice, which I guess that question is like, where do they get it from too? So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like once you pull that thread, it just keeps unraveling. Yeah, so like how other folks around us have been socialized. Any other shares really quick? Yeah, Claude, similar. Yeah, we can see it from movies, from other like cultural contexts, from social norms that we're grown up with, social stereotypes. Yep. Location, regions. Yeah, all this is super right. And really what it's going back to. Also, Lauren, do you have your hand raised?
Oh, I didn't know I had to lower it. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah, and so this is all from systematic power structures that tell us oftentimes what we're supposed to be thinking about different groups of people. And I'm gonna hand it back to Vic for discrimination.
Yes. I'm muted. Okay, I'm not muted. Before I give y'all the definition for discrimination, does anybody want to share your own definition, examples, or anything related?
I was gonna say, I thought it was interesting that we had different like colors assigned to different of these two definitions. Not in a bad way. I just thought it was cool how people interpreted different pictures and what that says about maybe what we're thinking. Just reading out that Claude said acting on prejudice against a group. And Shelley said unfair treatments, actions, or behaviors against a group of people.
Perfect. Yes. So discrimination is the use of power to deny access to benefits or opportunities to others based on prejudice. Individuals or institutions can discriminate against each other as long as they have the power to deny access or resources, to deny access to resources or opportunities. And typically people with dominant and marginalized identities, I don't know why I said typically, but words are fake. People with dominant and marginalized identities can have prejudice against against others from dominant or marginalized identities, though people with dominant identities are more likely to have the power to deny the access.
Awesome. So we've talked about identity, we've talked about prejudice, we've talked about discrimination and how these all interweave with each other and can intersect. And then now we're going to talk about oppression. Do we have any thoughts on this word and what it might mean? And I can read them out from the chat again.
I'd love to hear people's takes on what they feel like the difference between oppression and discrimination is, or like not necessarily difference, but how they work together. Just my thoughts. Also, if we feel like we need a breakout group at any time, since we didn't get that first one, facilitators, just let me know.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, yeah, so I can just go ahead and share the definition for oppression. Okay, so keeping groups of people out of positions of power being taken care of. Yep. Yeah, so using power to keep other people out of power or being taken care of, oppression being more systemic and publicly justified by authority figures. Yeah, so if we go to the next slide, the little box will be gone. And y'all are really hitting it on the head. It's a system of social inequality between groups, which exists at the institution and interpersonal levels. And it involves a dominant group, the oppressor, which asserts control of ideas, cultures, beliefs, and institutions over marginalized groups because of its access to power. So as we talked about earlier, where do we get these prejudices? It's dominant groups setting the standard for these ideas and cultures that influence how we think as well. And that's why it's really exciting that we're here today trying to figure out how to unlearn these things that we've been taught from childhood, like you said, Lauren. So yeah, and oppression is systemic. It's systemic discrimination, which privileges dominant group identities and marginalizes other groups. And so there's different levels of oppression. And we have personal, we have interpersonal, we have institutional, and then we have cultural. And so we'll say, I'll just go through these really quick. So personal, also, could be known as internalized. It's when sometimes folks, especially from marginalized groups, think that is how they should be or feel shame, or if others, it's when they feel shame if you don't conform to that. So for example, if we're thinking about gender norms, if you are a woman, you might feel like you have to be the main person taking care of your family. You might feel shame if you aren't doing that super well, or to a certain standard that we're told we have to do that. So that's a really specific example, like for myself, speaking from my own experience, for a long time, I thought that I had to shave my legs, and felt a lot of shame if I didn't, if I even had like a couple of little hairs popping out, after not shaving for a while, and felt like I had to conform to that. So it's a really specific example of personal. We have interpersonal, which is our attitudes, our beliefs, how we're socialized. It's how we interact with each other, and also how our individual beliefs can impact how we interact with each other. We have institutional, which is government, which is health services, housing, education. We have employment, religion, media, and also our legal system. And these are all, different aspects of oppression can influence all of these different institutional systems that dictate how these things work in our country. And then we also have cultural. That's our language, our beauty standards, similar to what I was talking about earlier of, female presenting people needing to shave their legs. Our values, our norms, our holidays, our sex roles, even our logical systems or our societal expectations. So we see this working on different aspects of our own lives, like interpersonally, how we interact, how our country has decided to organize itself, and also our cultural beliefs, and how we go about our day-to-day lives. And I can get the next slide. And so this is a really good example of how we can see that, oftentimes how interpersonal or internalized oppression can manifest visually. Sometimes we don't see like where those things are coming from, how they have been a part of our institutional systems, how we think, our ideological systems, and how that's influencing how we're interacting with each other, with ourselves. So I also want to ask what folks think about the word systematic and how it fits within this. Do I have any thoughts on that? Or any examples of systematic oppression that y'all can think of?
I think allowing, kind of like some of the work we've been doing, allowing people that are providing housing to decide kind of like who's able to access that based on somebody's identity or like past history or any way in their life.
Yeah, totally. Yes, that's a really, really great example. And one I've been thinking about a lot too, doing some housing work. Like just to get even more specific, like landlords are legally allowed to deny renters from renting one of their properties if they have Section 8, for example. Even though they have access to that money, they're making a decision on who is worthy of this rental space based on where they're getting their money. I also saw Mandy put in the chat the prison system. Yes, this is a great example of systematic oppression where there's a lot of multiple different things going into the prison system of, you know, how our racial systems are impacting the prison system and how which populations are getting imprisoned more based on people's identities, which is something that we talked about earlier. The way cities are designed to prize cars over pedestrians. Yeah, that's a really great one. City planning. Here in Lexington, we have a pretty bad bus system, and it makes it really hard for folks that might not have a car to get around. It could even be like, does your city have access to bike lanes or things like that? Differing health outcomes in marginalized dominant groups of people. Yes. Yes. Y'all are on the nose with it. You totally get it. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, so, you know, just wanting to hone in on how like it's very clear that oppression is a systematic thing. And that there are decision makers that are doing this intentionally. Yes. And like we have the other thing that I was gonna say is like we have to work on this at the interpersonal level, you know, like prejudice totally is a thing, discrimination is totally something that happens between people. And also it's these systems that are really propelling that forward and dictating how we are treating each other, right? And when it's at this systematic level, that is what holds even more power than these interpersonal interactions. That's not to say that we don't need to fix those things as well, but a lot of the time those are focused on and not these bigger systems of power. And that's an intentional thing as well to keep us divided. So yeah, any questions on that before we move to our next definition?
I was just gonna add we usually also have graphics that show kind of the pillars that oppression sits on, including like capitalism and militarism and white supremacy. So like all of this holds that up and is made of that. I'm not the best explainer, but I wish I had Jordan Mazurik's graphic on hand because I think it's really helpful to see. But just wanted to acknowledge that it ties into these bigger systems.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and there's all these different power dynamics that are all interplaying with each other, which brings us to our next definition, which is really great. And Vika's gonna be holding that one down.
Yes, so next is intersectionality. Does anybody want to share aloud or in the chat what intersectionality means to them, some experiences that they might have had, like that they would say are intersectional, or just general examples? Okay. Can you move the little boxy box? Oh, from Mandy, informed across strata of society, like age, race, socioeconomic status. Yes, I feel like definitely all of these things play into what intersectionality is, and how that interacts.
Yeah, I was kind of, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
I was just thinking of for the last question, and people had such good responses, I didn't pop in, but just thinking about the healthcare for privatized systems. So as like a disabled person, it makes it so much harder to access care because, you know, healthcare, you need to go see so many more doctor visits and et cetera, but you still have to pay a ridiculous amount for healthcare that still you have to pay a ridiculous amount to get to your like level of what's the word, where you have to pay like $3,000, $4,000, $9,000 until your healthcare kicks in. And that's harder for a disabled person to navigate because you have to spend all that money before you even get assistance, really. But also as like a skinny person, for an example, or any number of like privileges that I have, like interacting with healthcare is less dangerous and less stigmatized, and they don't like blame everything on my weight, so it makes different, my experience specifically with my identities influences how difficult and what barriers and obstacles I have to jump through. Sorry, I meant to make that shorter than it was, but I got there.
Yes, I feel like that's a good example. And Emily in the chat said how different identities and experiences interconnect and can cause overlapped/related oppression. And yes, you're all hitting the nail on the head. If you could remove the little box here. Intersectionality is the way different and dominant oppressed identities interact for an individual group, or how an individual's different identities combine to create experiences of oppression and privilege that cannot be experienced the same way without that combination. So yes, everything you were saying with the healthcare system and the different factors that influence how that navigation of those systems look. Yes, all of that. And this term, intersectionality, was coined in 1989 by Professor Kimberly Crenshaw. And it was coined to describe the social subordination that Black women face, which she argued was fundamentally different from the experiences of white women or of Black men. And in her paper, Demarginalizing the Intersection of Race and Sex, it centers on 3 legal cases that dealt with the issues of both racial discrimination and sex discrimination. And in the case, Crenshaw argued that the court's narrow view of discrimination was a prime example of both racism and sexism. So that kind of shows how how discrimination, prejudice, intersectionality, oppression, all of those are kind of interacting, and what the butting of all of these heads cause. And next we have a little skitty skit. Kat, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Okay. I suppose I will turn my camera on for this moment.
So you all are watching, we're just 2 friends hanging out, and you're gonna be watching us playing Frisbee. So we're frizzing it up. Yeah. Oh God, ow, oh my face, oh my gosh, oh that really hurt. Dude, what the heck?
Well, I'm sorry your face got in the way of my Frisbee. I never intended to hit you.
Dude, are you gonna even apologize? Like, you just hit my face with a Frisbee.
It was an accident. I didn't mean to. I was just throwing the Frisbee and you got in the way. So I don't really see why I need to apologize, because it wasn't my intention to hit you.
Oh, dude, there's blood everywhere. What the heck?
I don't think that is something that I'm supposed to take responsibility for. I didn't intend to hit you. I didn't mean to. It's not my problem.
Insane. Thank you. Cool. So, that was a really absurd example. Thank you. Yes. Our acting school will soon be starting as well.
Yeah.
So, y'all can come in on that now.
Sign up for classes.
But yeah. Oh, what?
Oh, I said sign up for classes.
Yeah, so this is kind of an absurd example. But yeah, it's really just to show that this is a scenario that often plays out with like more complex hurtful actions, like saying something prejudiced about a person who belongs to a marginalized group. And this is something we talked about as well earlier with like oops and ouch. But like when this happens, you're the one doing it, it's really important to focus like not on your intent, but rather on the impact of your action. And like we totally come into spaces all the times with like the best of intentions, and also we can sometimes still hurt other people. And so it's really great to like not only be aware of like your intentions with a certain thing, but ensuring that those intentions are aligning with our values, and not just thinking about it, but also trying to like act in alignment with our values, so that we don't accidentally throw hurtful word frisbees at our friends and then not own up to it. So yeah. Cool. Any questions on that before we move along to our activity? Sweet. Cool. So we are gonna go into a little activity. Probably what we all do. Let's see, how many people do we have? 6. So we could probably do 2 groups of 3. And so we're going to be doing a privilege for sale activity. I'm going to explain it really quick, and then from there we will break out. So hold on one second. Let me just grab this little sheet. So the point of this is we're going to be investigating our own privileges, and we're going to have little discussion groups where we have this list of privileges that I'm going to link really quick in the chat. And y'all are going to be deciding as a group which privileges you're going to be buying. So here's the list. And we're going to give you some money. And the purpose of in this activity, we're going to be pretending that you don't have any of these privileges. So we have removed these privileges for you and for your group, and you are going to have to be buying them back from us. And each one of these privileges costs $100. So we are gonna break you up into 2 groups. One group is gonna be getting $500, and then the other group is gonna get $1,000. And we will let you know which group is getting which amount. And this is the amount of money that you as a group have to spend. And we're going to give you some time to talk with each other about which ones you want to buy. And then we're going to come back as a bigger group and talk about it. And so, yeah, so you're going to just have to decide together which ones you want to get. So are we good? Does anyone first off have any questions about how this works before we go into breakout groups? Cool. Yeah.
Sorry, does the staff also want to be in a breakout group or facilitators? I think it would maybe help. Oh, what did you say? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I was just going to say it might help balance the groups out a little bit if y'all are down with that, but also good if you need some time to plan.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's fine.
Okay.
Mandy, it looks like you have a question.
Yes, I am on my cell phone, so I can't like select anything. Is that going to be an issue, or is it just mostly discussion?
Oh, it's mostly just a discussion. Yeah, you won't have
Okay.
to actually like click anything. Are you
Okay,
able
great.
to pull up the page?
Yes, I have it just on a separate window over here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll just have each group just have someone kind of like report back on which ones y'all decided. And then you'll also, each group will be talking about like how you decided on which privileges. Cool. Well, yeah, whenever you're ready, Jay.
Yes, just 1 second. It keeps being a little funny. I think I did it right. All right.
Cool. And
Alright.
we'll be coming back in, let's see. How about 5 minutes at 2 o'clock?
And I will send out a reminder about halfway in.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Emily, you should have gotten an invite to room 1. Let me know if you have any issues there.
Yeah, I just came back to see if there's a way you can broadcast a message to each group saying how much they have.
Yeah, which group is which?
You could
Or
say
how
group,
much?
you could say group 1 is there just 2 groups?
Yeah,
You could say group 1 is 500 and group 2 is 1,000.
okay. Uh,
And then letting folks know that we'll come back in like 5 minutes.
Okay. And oh my gosh, can you say the numbers one more time? They just leave my head.
Yeah, so the first group will be lower amount, it'll be 500.
Okay.
The second group will be 1,000.
Okay, 500,000. Cool. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Do you need me to put you back in there?
that'd be great. Yep.
Okay. Hmm. Well, hold on. It doesn't have an option. Let me
Hmm.
move you to room 2 and then I'm gonna move you back.
Okay,
Hopefully
I
that
was
works.
in group 1.
Yeah, it
Okay.
just doesn't have, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Do you have the option again? No. It is not giving me an option to put you back in there. Like I can go in there. Ah.
If you want, I could just, I don't know. I can always stay out here. Oh, wait, here. I can go. I can go to it. There's a button.
Oh, nice. Wait.
Oh,
Okay, so I like the one that you said about police interactions. I think that's really important.
okay.
Yeah.
Here, I can write these down. Does that
thank
sound
you.
good?
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Police interactions, mental health and ADA.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Emily?
That's 3. I think there's 2 more.
Let's see. I guess I mentioned the police one. Emily, you mentioned the
Mhm.
mental health one, and Mandy, you mentioned the ADA.
Just popping in to see how it's going. Do y'all need more time? Are you finished up?
We're
Okay.
donezo.
Denzo, cool. All right, I'll bring us back.
Thank you.
Did group 1 get to finish? Maybe Kat. Kat, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. How'd it go?
Yeah, maybe if we want to have folks share out with each group. Yeah, or I think Vic, I think you're gonna do the debrief aspect of this. So I don't know if you want to hit on those questions that we had.
Pulling up the link. Okay. So, a few questions. What was this activity like for these two groups? If somebody would like to answer on behalf of their group, if multiple people would like to answer, drop anything in the chat, feel free. I'll also throw out some of the other questions if anybody wants to take a stab at any of the others. How did you go about picking the privileges? What on the list surprised you? And there's a few more, but I'll just leave with those.
I can share the ones that our group picked. We picked the privilege about police interactions. Sorry, let me pull up the sheet so I can read it. Yeah, being able to feel safe in your interactions with police officers. We picked let's see, where is it? Your mental health does not impact your ability to do tasks such as getting out of bed, taking care of your hygiene, or keeping your house clean. We picked the you don't have to worry if buildings, parks, or other locations are ADA accessible. We picked if I should need to move, I can be pretty sure renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and in which I would want to live. And then our last one that we picked was when you go to the doctor, your pain is taken seriously and you have access to the pain medication that you need. I don't know if anyone else in my group wants to speak on why we decided on this. That's wild that y'all also picked the same ones, and then the other ones that you were able to pick.
All right. Does anybody want to share from group 2?
I can give the other 5 that we picked. You can walk down a public street without fear of sexual harassment. When you go to the doctor, your pain is taken seriously and you have access to the pain medication you need. If you're having a pregnancy, you don't have to worry about how your skin color will impact your likelihood of surviving pregnancy-related complications. Whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance of financial reliability. And I can go into a music shop and count on finding the music of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods of my cultural traditions, and into a hairdresser shop to find someone that can cut my hair. And I honestly think that I'm not sure that we really spent a lot of time comparing one against the other. I think it was like looking at the ones that, well, personally, I was trying not to compare one to the other, like, we only have one left, so I'd rather do this one than this one kind of thing. I think that would have made it a lot harder.
And Shelley said, for me, I take the privileges. I noticed the privileges I have in real life required me to take a second look because I don't understand what it's like to not have that privilege. Did anything on the list surprise anyone?
Also, Mandy, I see that your hand's up.
Okay. Yes, Mandy, would you like to share?
Oh yeah. I just noticed how built into this activity, how the amount that we could spend on these really impacted what we could choose. Like when we didn't have as much of a choice, how so much more came into the survival sort of category than into the like comfort, like the secondary needs. I was just, as y'all were reading out, I just noticed that.
Thank you for sharing. And then the next group of questions, why do you think we chose money? We could have easily said that each privilege was worth a token. You have 5 tokens. What does money represent? And why do you think we gave groups different amounts of money? Again, feel free to share in the chat.
I think that currency is like the primary tool that's used to oppress groups. So it is kind of the best opportunity to like a lot of these are actually just accessible through money, or not really, but it is that's a primary tool of oppression.
Yes. So when you have more money, you can actually buy privileges. You can move to new locations where some of the social privileges may be more easily accessed, or you can hire a lawyer to manage adoption paperwork, for instance. And Shelley said, privileges influence our ability to access money/power. Money is a power/tool of oppression in the USA. Yes, 1000%. It's a form of privilege, and when you have money, you might not be as concerned as you would about losing your job or being rejected from housing. Does anybody want to answer the second question? Why do you think we gave groups different amounts of money? So, oh, Pat, your message disappeared. Are you able to resend that or share that?
Oh, it was me. I just said I think it really helps build our class analysis and framework. Like we all, no matter what our background is with money, have to like navigate it in some kind of way. And so I just feel like that's a really good tool for us to use in these breakout groups across identities.
Yes, and it's also an example of how this can create animosity between groups, even though the groups were simply assigned the money, and it was really the facilitators who should be receiving the animosity. So that's kind of reflected in our real day-to-day lives, the government and the systems that are put in place that we exist within are the causes, and what should be um, having that energy targeted towards. But it is often misdirected. And that is also in and of itself a tactic and tool of these larger systems that we exist within. And does anyone want to share what you've learned from this activity, or how this activity and what you're learning from it translates into your job or work? Alrighty, well, I think that is it for our debrief. If we want to wrap up for this section of our training, we will be having a break coming up. And do we have the stuff together for the collage, like how to share it out?
Yeah, so I think with the collage, so we were going to suggest folks just take kind of like 5 minutes just to, stretch, get some water. But then also we have this blank slide here, and I can reshare out the link to the, oh, okay, Jay's already on it. So we're gonna reshare out these slides, and this is just kind of like a fun way to do an online collage. What you can do is when you hit, oh yes, and anti-oppression is kind of our theme. So there is an option in the Google Slides to upload photos from the internet. So you can type whatever you want into, Jay, will you click the little photo icon in the top so folks can see where to find it? Yep. So if you do that, search the web, and then you can type in whatever you want. And yeah, like fighting the system is a great one. And you can upload whatever photo you want to upload, and then we'll have like a little shared collage that we have. So yeah, folks want to come back at, we will do 2:23, and then after that we'll probably go through the other activities somewhat quickly, but wanted to give folks just a little brain break. Yeah, does that make sense? Do folks have questions? Cool. Well, yeah, again, feel free to throw anything in the chat, and we will call y'all back in at 2:23. All right. Cool. So if folks want to come back. I also know what you mean, Claude. I was trying to find a good photo and could not find one, and it kept exiting me out of it. So hopefully we can work out this kink so it's even easier in the next training that we do. But the ones that are here, really great. It looks like this bottom photo is a book. I don't know who shared that or if you have anything to speak on with that, but it looks great.
Oh,
Looks
that
like-
was, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying that was me. I was just trying to think of things that kind of visualized like a more caring system and us building what we need for each other. Yeah, creating instead of like burning. Not that both aren't sometimes necessary. I mean, yeah, always necessary to care.
Yeah, totally. And something so like central to our work is like not only just like breaking down these systems, but figuring out how we can be in like better relationship with each other that's like more joyous and caring and loving and creating that world now. Cool. Well, so we're gonna jump into a couple quick definitions. Vic is gonna lead us in talking about mainstream and margin.
Alrighty, so mainstream and margin. Mainstream is the center or end group. The mainstream sets the tone for a group or organization or society. Its preferences become the norms for the group, and it provides the most of the leadership for carrying out the mission of the group. The mainstream may or may not be conscious of its role and higher status. Everyone is a member of some mainstream or other. Even a working class Jewish radical lesbian may be able-bodied, for example, and able-bodied is a mainstream identity. And margin, do you want to click to the margin is the periphery or outgroup. They have to adapt to what the mainstream sets up. Everyone is a member of some margin or other. Even a white heterosexual owning class Protestant man may be a vegetarian or a night person who hates working before noon.
Cool. So now that we are thinking about mainstream and margin, and how this might differ from or intersect with like identity groups, and thinking about like marginalized groups and how that like differs between these two, we are going to be talking, or we're going to be doing a closed eye exercise, and we're going to be thinking about times that you yourself were in the margin. And I mean, typically if I was doing this in person, I'd be like, we're going to close our eyes, but not because I'm going to do anything to you. But obviously we're in Zoom. I am going to, as we go through this exercise, I'm going to throw in the chat this link to some nice forest river sounds that you can listen to while we go through this. I tried doing this earlier, but for some reason it would not let me share my audio. So that is a nice way to still have that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get comfortable. You can close your eyes if you want to close your eyes. And I'm gonna just lead you through some questions as we think about times that we felt like we were in the margin. And so I'm gonna invite you all to take a couple breaths. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remember a time when you felt like you were in the margin, where you knew you were on the edges of a group, and that you didn't really have a sense of belonging with this group. This can be a specific experience where you keenly felt your marginality, but this doesn't have to necessarily be a super intense or painful experience. And I want you to think about what this experience looked like, what it sounded like, and what it felt like. What are the things that were said? What are the things that were done? And what did you do in response? How did you feel? And after you're done thinking about how you felt in that situation, you can ask yourself, what was the mainstream like? How would you describe that mainstream person or group? What was their attitude? How did they act? How did they come across to you? And what do you wish the mainstream person or group would do to make you feel more comfortable in this situation? What would you like to say or to ask them if you could do that safely? What would be the thing that you say or do? Just keep sitting with these questions. All right, and we're gonna take a couple more deep breaths, and after that, folks can come back. And if you have your screen off, just give me some kind of sign of life. We'll take a couple deep breaths really quick. All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So because we are running a little bit late this time, typically we would have folks do another breakout and share. But if we want to have just a couple folks share what that was like, you know, obviously to your comfortability level, it doesn't have to be you like sharing out your whole experience or anything, but yeah, I just want to hear from folks about like what that experience was like and what came up for you.
I can go if that just helps warm up the space.
Yeah.
I just always think, like, I know there's been so many other examples, but my memory is terrible. So every time I like think about it, I think about high school. And I think that's just because a lot of younger like students, like our education system doesn't provide spaces like these that really build like relationships and socio-emotional skills and understanding like our role in these like systems and understanding like each other is not the like enemy, you know, the system's what turns us against each other. So I just always think back of like, man, I wish I had the knowledge that I did in high school. So I could kind of use like the identities and privileges I have to kind of like help shape the spaces around me and like have better conversations instead of being so like reactive and upset that things were the way they were.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I definitely vibe with that. I think I also went to a lot of like memories in high school, and I think for me, like I, you know, definitely feel like I wish I knew how to advocate for myself better when I was in those situations. Yeah, Claude, not feeling understood, or respected to a deep identity level has made me feel like I can't participate in just general humanhood often. Yeah, and it sucks because it's like we just want to be able to like go about our day and feel connection, and having that feeling of being on the margin can really keep us from tapping into that. Never built a campfire in a group where a cis man hasn't come over and tried to fix it or tell me how to do it. I have 15 years experience being an outdoor leader and heating my home with wood. Yes, I totally know what you mean. I was an outdoor guide for a while and oftentimes had this very same experience. There's always the cis dude that's coming over being like, I can do it. I can help you out, this damsel in distress, not knowing how to build a fire. Yeah, well, thank you all for sharing. And then we are going to do a quick debrief that Jay's going to lead us in. And this will be a debrief of the full training today. We love to do debriefs because we love to figure out how we can keep making this training better, especially for a virtual space. I think this might be, at least with these facilitators, I think our first time doing an online anti-oppression training. So if there's ways that we can keep making it better, let us know. If there's ways that we can, or things that you liked. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Jay now.
I was Vic gonna do the first debrief and then I was gonna do the pluses and deltas. I just don't want to step on your toes, Vic. So whatever you prefer.
I am cozy either way. If you would like to do the full thing, you're welcome to. If not, I can do the first question.
Cool. If you don't mind, maybe to facilitate the questions, I can write people's responses in the little notes here.
Alrighty. So today's debrief questions are, what did we do today? What did we learn? If anyone would like to share one thing you now know that you didn't know before, or something you want to learn more about, feel free. Also, what are some specific ways that people with privileges in this room, virtual or otherwise, can take action to dismantle that system? So if anybody would like to share aloud, share in the chat, if we want to have any kind of like just chill conversation about it, all that is Gucci.
I feel like every time I'm like, I do one of these, I'm reminded about like religious oppression. I think that's like an unsung like thing people deal with that I don't think of often.
Yeah, I feel that I kind of like had also forgotten about that a little bit, and then I had to go to a city council meeting not too long ago, and they started, actually twice now that I've been to city council meeting, they started the meeting off by having a Christian prayer, and I was like, what the heck? Like, this could be so uncomfortable for so many people, and you know, like what happened to division of church and state. So I was really, yeah, I was really grossed out by that.
That's wild. Like we would like teachers would get fired. I mean, I know it's done in schools, don't get me wrong, but like just the schools I've been into, wow. Not that students can't lead their own space, but that's kind of the point, is it supposed to be. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, and it was like not only for the folks that were like in attendance because it's a public meeting, but I was also thinking about like how that keeps folks out of being decision makers in city council if every meeting that they have, it's like, you know, they can't they don't want to participate in that, yet they're made to do it, and so it can be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially in like a small town or something, like having the power and space to be like, I don't like this, is
Yeah.
very hard.
One of the options on the buying privilege activity reminded me about like how like there are certain tools that people need within their religion, and like the lack of access just in stores in general, like places that have like food deserts or something, like really have to stretch to find. Like often I imagine you'd have to shop online. Probably most affordable would be like Amazon, like things where like there's so many instances where people have to use like tools of oppression because they make, or just like capitalist tools like shitty Amazon, things like that, where you don't have any other option, and then people make you feel bad for having to shop on Amazon. But obviously there's not like tons of options to get like maybe religious tools specifically, or also like foods that you cook with within your culture. I like had not thought about that before.
Yeah, I always like the food role is so hard for me because I already have a hard time in like food stuff, but then like planning for other people and finding the things that people need. I mean, it's just such a barrier. I've been doing a terrible job taking notes as usual.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to share or answer? Any thoughts, comments, concerns? Alrighty, well, Jay, I will pass it to you for the pluses and deltas.
Yeah. All right. Obviously y'all are super welcome to hop into the training. I'm gonna share it just one more time in case y'all need it. Beep, 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 and type in your own as you say them out loud or in the chat. But pluses and deltas is just a space to give like us feedback so we can shape our programming a little better. So pluses are things that you really enjoyed that can that like stood out to you, and deltas are areas where we can grow and do better. I also would like to start us out by a specific question of like what kind of follow-up discussions and trainings would y'all like to see? 101 kind of gets us warmed up and on the same page of these things, but we have content over like divorcing white supremacy, some deeper anti-oppression content, just in general, and like what kind of, even if it's just like a space to have casual discussions. Would love to see like what y'all would like after this to follow up. Direct action, yeah. I'm gonna type these in the little notes. I think like this content and even deeper is really important for designing direct actions and knowing like who we're asking to take what risks and what the actions are, and thinking about power. Yeah, I know we talked about having like a space. What, Kat? I know y'all were talking about it after the MSU training.
Yeah, I can link in the chat. So we were after this training, and we also hosted an in-person training with Moorhead State. They have a couple different student groups there that we work with. So let me throw that in the chat. We kind of, I think a lot of the time which we've seen here today, like folks who come to these trainings already have interacted with these concepts and want to go deeper, like you were saying. And so we have been talking about just having a less agenda heavy online space where folks can also just like continue to talk about these things, you know, bring forward questions that you've been having or just things that you've been thinking about. So let me put that in the chat. And that also just leads me to my thought that I'm pretty much always thinking about with organizing is how can we get folks in the room who have never interacted with these concepts? Because I think that that's really important. You know, I think it's like even folks that have done this a bunch of times still continue to learn stuff. And also there's people that I want in this room that aren't here. So but yeah, if folks are interested, here's a little form that you can fill out. If you're interested in a follow-up, it has some dates, some proposed dates, and yeah, space to share specific things that you're curious about, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd also like to shout out something we've been trying to get up and going for a while that I'm like really interested in starting, especially as we do these follow-up things, is doing like a maybe books and zine or literature and zine kind of club where we just you know, together select different literatures or whatever it is, and just have space to like talk about that and moving it into like action and education. Yes. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff I've been like kind of prepping, to be honest. And we've been talking about like making it really like, I don't know if open-ended is the word, but just something where folks can hop in and out and not have to like, even if they don't have capacity to do the whole reading, can really benefit from learning and discussion and kind of having it on online spaces and in person. Yeah, anyways, just thinking of ways to get that stuff where folks can pop in. Sorry, said the same thing twice. Cool. Anything else y'all want me to add for the planning purposes? Cool. Well, if you think of something, feel free to drop it. We'll move into pluses and deltas. To get us started, I'll kind of give an example. I really liked us having like a tech person and 2 facilitators. So I just really like having lots of folks in the room to help navigate it. I think it made things flow well. So what are y'all's? Shelly said that she really liked the privilege for sale activity. So I love that. We used to do a different activity and we've got a lot of feedback that has shaped changing it out. And I think this one just works a lot better for folks to not have to operate in their exact identities and seeing others. I would add a delta, maybe like having, especially for collages that might be more abstract or harder to find images, like some like pre-selected like folder or something that folks could use. Interactive slides. Yes. Love that. Ooh, something that we're hoping to get the staff more familiar and like practice with is there's some like cool different apps to make online spaces more engaging. And one of them is for breakout rooms, like it has a visual, so it's like a little, like one can be like a little campfire and seats around it, and then people can click different breakout rooms that they're interested in. It's just a very visual way to interact. So just kind of adding some of those things in and getting familiar. Ooh, waterfall sounds. Ooh, I'm gonna add troubleshooting sound. Cool. Anything that y'all want to see like more of, or that could help y'all be more engaged or comfortable being engaged in an online space? Something we're always trying to improve on.
All right, I'm just gonna out loud because I'm typing a lot.
Cool.
Oh my God, I forgot, but I remember now. This is just a personal thing. I think I'm the opposite of other people, but I like more content than being like interactive. So maybe more content, but I think it was a good amount of content still though. I don't know what other content, but
Yeah, I think especially for 101, like finding ways to like reach folks on both ends of the spectrum. Cool. Anything else, y'all? Well, is there anything? Oh, I did want to, okay, first before, I did want to shout out if folks want additional reading that this is a really good article at the end. I'll also copy it into the chat. But it just kind of is, it's pretty short. It goes into like power. And that could be something that we kick off the Books and Zine Club with. But it's just a little additional thing for y'all to leave with. Not gonna call it homework. But yeah, if there's anything else staff that we want to like boost out to folks to follow up on, it and get them plugged into anything. I'm kind of going blank. I know there's a ton though.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be following up with some resources. We'll include this in a follow-up email, as well as a couple other resources that we shared out after the in-person anti-oppression training at MSU, including like if you want to read the original article that Kimberly Crenshaw wrote, stuff like that. If video is more of your jam. I'll also include, there's a really recent video that she did about how her work actually recently got banned at university, which is terrifying with a lot of the literature bans that we're seeing right now. But also just shows how powerful her work is, that it's a threat to these institutions. So stuff like that. And then we will also follow up with a registration form for a spring summit, which is coming up March 10th and 11th in Louisville. It should be a good time. We would love to see you there. And then on February 25th, we are going to have a canvas for our No New Pipelines group in Bullitt County. We would love to see you there. We'll be knocking doors and talking to people in the area about how they feel about the issue. So with a debrief or with a intro on how to canvas in the first place. So you don't have to have any prior experience. And also just wanted to say thank you all for being here and also for staying on a little bit longer. I know that time is precious these days, so we appreciate just your continued engagement. Yep, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I have one thing I remembered. So we're starting to set up like group hangouts for folks. You don't necessarily like have to be like identify yourself as a KSEC member to come. We've got a lot of different ideas. One obviously being like the book club. We've talked about doing a KSEC Lake Day. Just time for both like us to have like fun and casual discussions and build relationships. Time to do art and collaboration. Time to learn together. So we'll also follow up with a link to fill out if that's something you're interested in, so we can start setting up specific dates. Vic, do you have anything?
I do not.
Hell yeah. Oh, I guess, do you want to shout out the PSN convergence? Since that's coming
Yeah.
up.
So April 6th through the 8th in Bulbancha, colonially known as New Orleans, there will be the PowerShift convergence, PS23. And for folks who aren't familiar with PowerShift, it's a super cool network that we're a part of. And KSEC actually got its start in 2007 when a bunch of young Kentuckians gathered for the convergence in DC. So we will be working to get as many folks, up to 25 at present, to Bulbancha as possible for this massive youth convergence that will be taking place. So if y'all are interested, we will send out that link for the sign up. And that's not like a yes or no, I'm going for certain. It's just an interest form to see who we should reach back out to and follow up with about attending with us. So yeah.
Yeah. And the sooner the better, just because if this is something you really want to do, and know that, because there's discounts on tickets right now, and we're working on getting all the logistics set up. So if that's something you really want to do, we'll get all that ironed out, and the sooner the better, because that just helps ensure that you get your preferences met as best that we can. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Well, y'all, well, thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you on the next, whatever it is, webinar or event. Love y'all.
See y'all. Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.